As I have a helicopter that can go over the turnpike, which I do, but.
Okay, you sure you want to keep talking about this?
No, but I'm giving an honest example.
No,
I'm being truthful.
That's a
And
reality.
I-
That's a reality.
And I would, my city would have died. There would be no way for us to have annexed. So
Okay.
why I'm trying to say that this is, I think this covers everything. I'm not an attorney.
Okay,
and
let's
there
go
was
to
a canal too. I mean, you have a
Case-by-case
canal
basis.
to
You guys,
southern
what I wanna-
Venice.
waterway.
Guys, what I want to do is this, Rose, Ann has not spoken at all on this topic. I'd like to give Rosa a chance to finish. But since she has not spoken, I want to give Ann a chance to make her comments.
Well,
Ann, go
this
ahead,
is in
please.
line with what Rosa was saying. First of all, is adjacent the same thing as contiguous?
It's all for interpretation.
I think, well, let me say this, adjacent would always be contiguous, yeah, it would have to be, yeah, just by a matter of common sense.
So if it's adjacent, then the example that Rosa said about here and here at the road connecting would not be allowed to be annexed then, because it wouldn't be touching the area that it's going to belong to.
Yeah, but we're not saying, I mean, the mayor's not saying, and nobody's saying that the boundaries can be decided on a case-by-case basis, and that's fine, but
You did
nobody.
it backwards.
Okay, but
Just
no.
say no enclaves.
Okay,
Enclaves.
but nobody's saying, nobody here is saying to completely eliminate the requirement of having, it may be a highway, maybe something.
No, then I was going to
There's
go.
got to be, we're leaving in place the fact that there's got to be, some continuity, so it's got to be contiguous in some way. We're saying it could be interpreted on a case-by-case basis, but we're not saying that if you're living in the Redland, that you can annex a parcel next to Aventura. I mean, as an extreme example, you still have to have, it still has to be contiguous. We're just saying that'll be decided on a case-by-case. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Would you want to get more specific, to say utilize natural boundaries such as highways, turnpikes, canals, and section line roads in drawing a new city's boundaries where feasible?
Well,
Or is that too specific?
Well, let me go to him. You put a motion?
No, that'll kill a lot of possible annexation corporations.
Why don't we,
Okay.
use your motion, are you including in your proposed recommendation the case-by-case basis and the recommendation that no one commissioner can veto it? Or do you want to make it as two separate recommendations?
Let's make it as two.
Because it seems like two different issues.
I think it's two, and I just,
It's two different issues,
and
right?
just to be clear for the motion, so we're talking about both boundaries for annexation and corporation. And we're recommending that those boundaries be contiguous, logical, and compact. Those three things?
But also being taken up as a case-by-case basis.
And I would just
Basically,
suggest,
that's what-
and encourage natural boundaries as guidelines, and then there should be exceptions, where there's no,
He's adopting the mayor's recommendation.
Yeah,
well,
basically.
but I want to be, but
But
what I want to be.
discussion on it.
Okay, and what I would like, and then I'll offer this as an amendment, would be that when we talk about both boundaries for annexation and incorporation, we talk about contiguous, logical, compact, and that they seek natural boundaries. And in cases where that's not the case, that there's exceptions for case-by-case basis.
Okay,
That's what you, that's.
That way it kind of makes it all.
You're adopting that?
I'm adopting that and just adding the one thing is that no one commissioner for annexation.
Well, we're going to take a separate vote on that.
No, we'll take a
do
separate
separate.
vote on that.
Okay, on the first one,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, Mr. Freeman, sure.
Excuse me, but I just
No,
wanted
not
to
at
make
all.
the point that I think it should be included as part of the consideration as whether you're leaving an enclave or not. Because I think that's a powerful argument if you're going to have one commissioner saying that the reason why it's extending into your district is that, we would leave an enclave, the enclave wouldn't be economically viable if they chose to incorporate themselves, that it would be creating a problem with stressing the county services, and this is a logical contiguous boundary. We're setting up a framework of means test on whether this should be allowed to go or not, because there may be areas in the county where an area would incorporate, but the area that's being left is viable for their own incorporation, and that's a completely different argument.
Okay, what I want to do now is I want to vote on his.
We could add that no enclave to be left behind.
I would like
the
to add
non-enclave
that.
is good.
I would
Okay,
like to add.
so we would, hang on, your motion would, you would accept a friendly amendment then, that one of the considerations is not creating an enclave.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That makes total sense.
First, let me go to Carlos, one or two.
We have an
Those
issue,
columns.
we had an issue when we were hearing the folks in Redland about census tracts. Okay, and I think that should be included in this motion, that we don't violate any federal, and the census tract figures are part of what we call a contiguous area.
Yeah, and I think, to give you an example, you know, for years Miami Lakes had 2 county commissioners who split the city right down the middle, which was ridiculous. So, you know, we would not have wanted a situation where we kind of had a compact community that was always seen as being an area, and somebody kind of just cut us in the middle and left one half in and one half out. So I think one of the, you know, we had, Miami Lakes was an area. I mean, it was a planned community. People lived together as a city for, you know, 30 years before they incorporated. And, you know, it wouldn't have been right to have we had 2 commissioners, but it wouldn't have been right. You know, what would have happened to us if a commissioner that represented a small portion of Miami Lakes, just to give you a concrete example, said, you know, you have like, there were some areas like Miami Lakes, Marbella Park, Country Club of Miami, or whatever it is, that have some, people know what you're talking about. That's a compact area. And it may have 2 commissioners, it may have 4 commissioners, but it kind of makes a natural city. And you wouldn't want to have a situation where, you know, one commissioner is going to block the whole thing because they have a, you know, they share a certain amount. So we're taking comment on, any further comment on Mr. Moronio's motion regarding the boundaries? Calls, anything else?
No, I just wanted to include language in the motion, and I wondered the maker make a friendly amendment that would include, you know, pursuant to whatever, maybe the attorneys can help me, whatever the census tracts are that cannot be divided up.
Okay, the only thing I would say about that is, if we could, I know we've been discussing this for a while, and I'm getting a little fried today myself. What I don't want to do is, if I don't understand what that would mean,
Can I offer?
so what I'm saying, what I want to do is,
Can I offer a suggestion,
yeah,
Mr. Chairman?
I don't know what that would mean, but Commissioner.
No, and I would just say that the amendment, and I think that makes sense. I mean, what we're trying to do is give the commission guidance and some tools. So what you would say is you would want boundaries that are contiguous, logical, and compact, that encourage natural boundaries, and maybe discourage the dividing of zip codes or something along that line.
That's,
Because listen, what we don't want to do is, you know, at some point, some of these things are going to get a little messy, and you don't want to kind of create things that don't give some flexibility. So what I'm saying is, as a policy, we want to encourage keeping those zip codes together. We want to encourage that.
and that's what you're suggesting with the census.
Just for information, because when he brought it in track,
That's why
but it's not
we
track,
encourage
but
it.
it's already in the code. It's census designated places that you don't want to divide. It's not so much the track in zip code, because you got.
Yeah, again, it doesn't make sense to draw city boundaries around county commission districts, you know,
I think we're
census.
splitting hairs.
Can I make a suggestion, just for all purposes? Since it's kind of like going to be the last topic, then we're going to talk about what we're going to do in the coming weeks, which is important, getting organized. Would anybody oppose having the staff just take the minutes of this discussion and just writing the motion, the recommendation, a little more clearly, and then we could read it, and what we could do is we could have the mayor, so I would ask the staff to write down the motion based on everything we've said, and run it by Mayor Moronio between now and next Wednesday, and then next Wednesday, he could just, because there's been about 10 or 11 amendments, and
Yeah, I'm off my motion.
yeah, so what I'm saying is, what I recommend is this: if the staff would spend a couple of days going through the discussion we had, and if you could just re-listen to the tape and craft the motion, including all the amendments that were made, including the census tract amendment, and get with Mayor Moronio, and so that at the next meeting, he could open up by reading the motion a newly stated motion that incorporates everything, so there's no confusion